It's time for Dads Making a Difference, powered by First Things First. This transformative show will help you learn how to handle the stress of fatherhood, how to better relate to your child, navigate the child support system, and all things that come with being a dad. With your hosts, Reggie Madison and James Frankie Woods.
James, we've talked a lot over the years about just the fact that fathers and mothers are just different.
Yes, sir.
And we've seen it with our kids, right?
Right.
And so we decided today to just have a conversation. We brought in some help with this conversation, right? About just one, we may hit some others, but one big difference that fathers bring. And that's structure.
Yeah.
And so we have, is me, is Johnny. Some may remember Johnny from a previous episode on the show, and James, just to really kind of unpack some of these differences that dads bring to the table. We've been to schools. We see sometimes how when there aren't men present, it's just kind of a lot more chaotic sometimes. And so for those that don't know, let's just make sure people understand. First, I'm a father of 7 kids. I got 5 boys. I got 2 girls. My oldest is 16. My youngest is 3. Been married for 19 years now, since 2004. And that's all I'll say for now. I mean, Johnny.
Oh, Johnny, I have, how many kids I got? Oh, I got 6 of them. I have 4 girls and 2 boys, ages 28 to 19. Youngest one is a girl, been married 8 years. So I've been through a lot.
Gotcha. Father 6, 4 boys, 2 girls. Man, almost 2 years. And ladies, we want y'all to know this before we get into depth now. It's no disrespect. It's just men having a conversation about what we talk about.
And what we see.
So please don't take this as we thinking that we better than y'all. This is not that kind of conversation. We just enlighten our brothers and the men in the world about what's going on and what we see.
Yeah, and part of that is we bring different things to the table.
Yes, sir.
And we'll have another show where we'll help brothers understand why moms are important. And so understand, moms are super important.
They are.
But that's not what we're talking about today.
Right. Structure.
Yeah, and so
let's go.
So let's start. You hear the word structure. You think of structure, you think of dad, you think of kids. What comes to mind?
For me, it's fathers are more like a protector, provider, instructor. So they're going to teach the sons how to be a man. As I said once before, we're all born as males, but we have to transform into men. So what we see around here now is a lot of males and not men.
I love that. I'm going to go a little further because what I take from that is the structure part is with my daughters and how they look at me when you're involved in their life. The structure that they get from a relationship. When you being, I guess, when you being loyal to that one woman, and your daughter sees that, she ain't gonna fall for no traps.
But it's your son too.
Yeah.
Your son too. He sees exactly how you treat his mother, and it's a direct reflection on how he's going to treat someone else's daughter. You see what I'm saying? And your daughter sees that consistency, and she's not going to settle for that inconsistent man out here.
Yeah.
So.
And I still also think of how often a single mom would try to find a coach. It's a baseball coach, football coach, basketball coach, whatever, a father figure, an uncle or godfather, somebody, because that order and that way that guys bring, for some reason, kids often just respond. I don't know if it's a deeper voice. It's the buffness or whatever, but often when I look and see, they respond differently. Often you don't even have to raise your voice.
Right.
In fact, often I get quieter and get the results.
Yeah. That actually happened at the shelter yesterday. We was at the shelter, and the young lady was jumping off the steps, and Miss Crystal, shout out to Miss Crystal, she was talking to the young lady. And she was trying to get her to say, hey, don't jump off the steps, da-da-da. And she kept on saying it. So I looked at the young lady and I said, listen, if you're going to jump off them steps, you might have to go over there and sit down. And she listened. But then she jumped again. I said, uh-oh, now you got to go sit down. And the young lady went and sat down. This is my first time ever talking to her. But I got silent. I mean, I got quieter, and I just was very stern with her, and she understood. And she never jumped on the steps no more. And that just made me understand even more of how important that fathers are. In that moment, in that little moment, the woman even looked at me and said, y'all mean. All y'all got to do is just say something. It's y'all tone. And I was like, man, you make me feel like a grown man now. You know what I mean? I felt grown in that little part of time. But it's just very important that we get that from our community, man. Like, we got to start sharing that more with each other. But some, like, again, we always say this to each other. Some men just ain't ready to do that. Like you said, it's some male and some me.
And I want to jump off what you said, James, to the women. Don't take it as an attack.
Right.
Don't take it as an attack. Because what I'm about to say, most women, especially single mothers, what they do to their sons is they either put them in a place to be the man of the house at 8 years old, so they treat him like their man. They buy him all the clothes, they take care of him, and then as he get grown, what does he expect for that woman in his life to do? He looks for her to take care of him. And then what he does is he have a child when he leaves her, and then he says, my mama took care of me by herself. Why do I need to help you? See, that's what a lot of women do. And it goes back, we got to look back in the DNA, back in history. And a lot of people don't like to talk about history, but a lot of black women, what they did was they held their sons close because we were either kidnapped, killed, lynched, so they had to keep their son close. And they taught their daughters how to cook, clean, and taught them how to be women. But they never they couldn't teach their boys how to be men. But now I ask the woman, what's the reason? There's no reason for that now. Let them get around positive male figures in order to teach them how to be men and get away from just being males.
Well, part of that comes from there's a fear of letting you go out. And, I mean, think about it. Woman's pregnant for 9 months. She has that baby in her belly. And she's comforting, she's making sure that baby is as comfortable as possible, right? And that parallels. You see the same thing, like make sure that there's no harm, nothing coming out here in the world. Well, dad, before the baby's born, he's on the outside. He's like, I can't wait till you get out here because I got something to show you. I got a world to show you, right? And so and that's just how it translates into the kind of real life that I've got to show you how to. It's not show you how to not get hurt, but how to bounce back. That's why dads will compare scars, right? Your kid get hurt, and I'm like, man, that happened to you. Like, this is how my knuckles got this thing on, right? This is how this happened, and it lets them understand that you have a framework from which you function in this world with. And here's how you do it. Here's the way you talk to people, the way you interact, the way you get up at 4 a.m. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At my house, I get up I get up at 6, and everybody in my house is getting up at 6:30. If you're not up by 6:30, 6:30 we are together. Period. Going through, we do a Bible study at 6:30 in the morning, and it's amazing how if I say we're doing it, I mean, they may be a little, but everybody's there. There's not a whole lot, because it's not like it's viewed as an option. This is just what's going to be. And that's something, my wife, to your point, she recognizes, she says all the time, I don't get the same results. That's just part of how it is.
I was teaching my son about chocolate a couple of weeks ago. What happened was his mom asked him for some chocolate one day. And he says, she come in the house, he gave him the chocolate. He says to mom, like, he greatly appreciated it. I said, I'm going to hold him to that. So what happened was the next day he wanted to wash clothes, but with no washing powder. So I said, hey, man, there ain't no washing powder there. He said, nah. I said, let me show you something. I said, this is what I'm trying to prepare you for, is the next stage in your life. I don't want you to move out, but I'm trying to prepare you for when you do move out, what to look for as a man. First of all, don't no woman want no man they got to tell you what to do. That's first off. I said, second of all, how many times have you walked past this washing powder and you didn't check it? I said, because when you get your own, guess what you got to do? You got to check yours. I said, furthermore, let me give you this. I said, you remember you gave your mama that chocolate? And you said she was greatly appreciated? So let me put this in your ear. When you go in the store, get some washing powder, get some bleach, get some dishwashing detergent, get different things in the house that you need, that your mother needs. Guess what? That's her chocolate as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, oh man, Dad. I said, that's your chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, Dad, I'm gonna keep that in my head. And so that's another way of structure. I had to find a way to talk to my son without belittling him and making him feel like just because I'm dad and I pay these bills in this house that I want you to, I don't want that from you.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to respect me as a man, but still I'm gonna run this house the way it's supposed to be ringing. But I don't want to put my foot in your neck if I don't have to.
Right.
That back to the structure piece. I had to find something to curb that so he can understand where I was coming from and not be that father. Because you know how we grew up. Father was tough. Get up, don't you cry, don't you be. You know, we went through that. So I'm trying to curb that. And when I had that conversation with him, it was totally understood.
Okay.
So how do you help communicate that to a young man who did not have that growing up? Because we see it all the time. So now he's 25, he's 30, and he's trying to be a dad himself.
Right.
But that he doesn't even recognize that he needs to bring that to the table. How do you communicate that with him? How do you teach him that?
Well, that's the first thing you said. You got to recognize it, because the first thing, if you go speak to somebody that don't want to hear you, they're not going to hear you. They're not ready. So that young man has to be ready to receive that information. And what I believe is, if they value you as a man, they see you. Because what we got to understand is, people go by what they see, not what they hear, especially kids. I could talk about being a good father all day, but if you see me not with my kids, what are you going to say? You know, is he really? So I think we have to show by example to our young men on how to actually be a man, how to take care of it. You know what I'm saying? We have to actually show that. And then it even gets even more difficult. One I want to bring up is blended families. Blended families, it gets difficult because especially the mom, most of the time the mom has the kids. She's bringing her kids in the situation, and this man is coming in. He may have outside kids, but he has to manage her kids on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's real.
So what happens when she says, you can't discipline my child? Got quiet in the room, didn't it?
Yeah. I ain't been there, so I don't know. I don't know. I get you, though.
And I say with the men in that situation, you have to be up front. You have to be a united front. You know, if she loves you enough and respects you enough to marry you, and you taking care of those kids on a daily basis, I mean, stepdads' lives matter too. Who said that? Who said that? Finesse 2 times. You know, Finesse 2 times said that. You know, stepdad lives matter too, because you're stepping up to the plate where that father didn't.
Gotcha.
I love the whole show. Number one, in general, men are theoretically not of many words, right? And I mean, there was research. It's been years since I almost shouldn't even quote it, but it used to say women use like 3,000 more words today than men. Okay, I don't know if I'm sitting with brothers that are like that, but part of that is because we show, and we've got to be comfortable as men putting our arm around a brother, and I don't have to tell you what to do. I can show you, and then just use my words to make sure you understood what you just saw, right? And in that, they begin to see, man, this is how his life is ordered. He takes care of his family. He gets up. He goes and does this. This is how he deals with people. You've said, James, how as some of your kids that may have different moms have come into the house, to your house, they see a different environment. You know, they see, and then you just have to explain it to them, right? After they've seen it for a minute.
Right.
It's like a whole different world to them.
The biggest thing they see is they don't understand. Like I try to tell my kids' mom, I say, listen, what y'all see was we've been preparing what I've been teaching my kids for a long time. And it's no disrespect to this. It's just we work together in this household. That's the biggest thing that I teach my kids, is just that. Because we come from that era. as my brother Larry Daniels said earlier, we come from the area where we was all taught to pitch in and help around this house together. So from the outside, it looks like we got everything made, but you don't realize it's because we work together. And then when my other kids come around, they be like, dang, Marquis got this and Kobe got that. I said, you don't understand. And like my daughter told her boyfriend one time, my parents didn't give me what you thought they gave me. They guided me to it. They guided me to it. So that's what I want my kids' mom to understand is it's no different in my household. I might got this different job. You might see me on YouTube, but the thing is, we work together. And that's where that's where the structure part comes in.
Yeah, you coach.
You coach it.
And statistics shows, when you're talking about statistics, it shows that a single father has the same outcome as a mother and father raising a child. So that tells you how important it is for that father to be in that child's life. Because what they say, 80% of the kids that's incarcerated was by single mothers. So just think about if we bring that father back in the picture as we're talking about structure, how that child looks at it and sees the way they should live their life. So that's important.
Part of it is helping dads in general to take advantage of the parts that often come more natural. Okay? For instance, guys, part of I'm talking about structure, but we also often major in unstructured play. You know what I'm saying? Just, whether it's crazy time or we just, throwing pillows at each other or wrestling or whatever, there's no rules. I mean, there's silent rules. There's rules of respect, really. Right? But we don't have a list of rules. But they're learning through that process. So just going outside and, making up a game. I mean, we play football with a milk carton, with a ball of paper. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all these different things where there's no structure, no formal structure to it, that you're just kind of feeling your way through. And people don't realize, like, you're teaching your kids a whole lot when you're doing some of those things, right? I mean, if you look at we got 19 kids between the three of us. When you really think about it. And so talk about some of the ways that you have noticed how your activity, you're playing with your kids, has shaped how they interact and just the respect level they have.
Well, my boys, the biggest thing that I tell them and that I give to them, I say, I don't want you to be dad. I want you to be better than dad. This is what I give to my boys and even to my daughters. And one thing I tell my kids in general is this: the reason I move better because I want better. And y'all just saw me go through the ranks. Y'all just saw me in and out of jail. But when they see me in this light now, they see what y'all saying. They see my growth. So they following like, man, look at all the stuff my father went through. And I see where he going there. I got to jump on board. I got to jump on board. If it worked for my dad, it got to work for me. It got to work for me.
I was a little bit harder. I remember my daughter, she said, we can't tell dad how we feel. This was a while back. And my wife will tell you the growth that I've gone through now. And it stuck with me. It had to have been 10, 11 years ago she said that. And it stuck with me because I was a real firm dad. I raised my boys. People say, how your boys, why they treat you like they do? I say, because I raised them with respect. I never believe in raising a son or a daughter with fear. Because at some point, we're going to get old. And as we get older, if you respect me, you're still going to be there for me. If you feared me, there's no longer to fear me now.
Yeah.
Because I'm frail. So now how are you going to treat me? So I think with me, I've softened up a lot more. I listen a lot more to my kids. As you all know, the mental health side that I'm on, I value your feelings. I validate them. We discuss them. But I brought them up a little bit hard. And later in their life, I was able to soften it out when I learn a little more. You learn
right.
better, you do better.
Yeah.
So
We see respect being something that is not practiced very well.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
And I think it's a direct correlation to dads being out the house.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Why do you think respect is such a big deal to me?
That's our language. Respect. We don't tell you to love us.
Yeah. It's real.
You don't hear a man go to his wife and say, I need you just to love me. I I need you to respect me. I need you to treat me, to show me you respect me by the way you treat me. And that's our language of love that most people don't understand. So when that young man in his home doesn't have his father there, he's not taught respect.
Right.
That young woman there, I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, you know, she doesn't recognize a real man, does she? Because the way she was talking. So she doesn't really, and then what you mean? I said, a woman that was raised with a father, a real man, she understands when he's speaking. And I said vice versa. I was talking to you, James.
Mm-hmm.
When a woman that is a real woman walk in the room, she can hush a real man up without even saying a word. She doesn't have to say a word. Just look at him, and he like, that's a woman.
Right.
Look, I shook her hand at Calvin Dunn's today. I shook her hand at Calvin Dunn's today. Because when I shook her hand, it was firm. And I said, oh, you got a firm grip. She said, my grandfather, my father taught me that. Guess what he said? That's a real woman right there, James. She just letting you know. I said, I can't do no more respect. And put my hands up and walked away.
You talked about respect too, and why is that such a big button for you?
Man, I get a chance to tell the world this today. I said it to my wife. I said, listen, the reason why I'm so big on respect is because I didn't have what a lot of people have. I didn't have the high school diploma. I didn't have the college degrees. I didn't have the guys that I can go to like that. But I mean, I had my family, but I didn't have that. So my respect and my word was very big. And so she looked at me, she said, now I understand why you're so big on respect. Because when somebody do something to me sometimes and I feel like I know I've given you that, and I share it with my wife, and she said, but let it go. I said, Mom, it's hard. It's hard because I have given it to this person so much because look at where it's got me. And I ain't gonna tell you no lie. Like everybody, if you from Chattanooga, you know the life I've had. You know what I mean? And just respect has taught me and got me so far. To be on this radio show today, to be in this era, to be on First Things First, to be just a pillar in Chattanooga, my respect. People can say what you want to say, but at the end of the day, you're gonna say that's a good dude because I've given you respect. And if I ain't never the type of dude you can't have a conversation, man. If shout out to Johnny, I get to say this again today. Kings supposed to talk to kings.
All day. My dad used to tell me respect don't cost a man nothing.
That's real.
But disrespect gonna cost you.
Ooh.
Might cost you a little, might cost you a lot, but it's gonna cost.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this about respect that for me, what is it? And part of what it is it shows that you value how I communicate, you value how I make decisions, you value how I think, you value who I am as a person. And that, like, is difficult sometimes for women to understand why that, honestly, for a lot of men, really does trump love. It is their love language, right? Because if you don't value, if we don't feel like how we think, how we communicate, how we move, how we respond, how we make decisions, how we process, if we don't feel like you value that or respect that or honor that, then it makes it very difficult for us to have relationships. And for our kids, like, it's, you know, I was talking with Larry earlier, when you go to a school, we were at Calvin Donna Elementary School earlier today, when you go to a school and you see kids that don't respect the people, you know, then often dad hasn't been there. Because when there's trouble, and you know, I mean, I'm not saying all moms do this, but a lot of parents, a lot of schools are struggling now, and they're saying, man, moms are coming up here and they're getting on us and not even finding what the kid do. Often dads are bothered if you don't respect the teacher. Right? We'll deal with the issue later, but you're not respecting the teacher. You're not, you know, and that gets at the core. We can't deal with the issue if there's no respect there, if you don't respect that person's position. And that's what we're trying to, you know, communicate. And when we're not there, those things don't get communicated, and you get a divide, and it makes it difficult for kids to even have the structure because they don't even respect the people that are providing the structure.
It goes off what you just said, though. Emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
See, a lot of women are very emotional, so they lack emotional intelligence. So as you was just saying, Reggie, when everybody know my wife's a school teacher, 3rd grade, love her, shout out, baby. When a mother comes up there, she's emotionally involved. So she's going to automatically jump on the teacher. Where most fathers are logical. We're going to come in and say, what happened? Mm-hmm. We're not automatically defending our child. As I would throw a shout out to the father of the incident that happened in East Ridge a couple years ago. When I saw that video at the end, that father was very calm. He stayed calm the whole time. A mother would have been irate automatically because her son was maced, was slammed. That father handled it the way a father should handle it. He was calm. He spoke to the officers, getting down to the bottom of the problem. So that's the biggest difference, is that most fathers are logical, where most mothers are just very emotional.
And there's a place, as we kind of wrap it up, and obviously we know there are moms that do handle things in a different way. We're not saying 100% do this, but what we've learned, what we've seen, is that when you have this component missing, when dad isn't there, when dad isn't valued, when he's not, when he could be there, and either he's allowed to be dad, or he's never seen it, so he doesn't walk in his kingship. Then we see what the kids end up missing.
Yes. And
then as a result, you see it in the schools, you see it in the community, you see it on the sports teams, you see it all over. And that's why it's so important that we're present and learning from each other, encouraging each other, and all that. Closing thoughts, James.
Oh, I just want to say this. I'm listening to what you said, and just say this to these fathers and women. Like, man, let that man be a father. Because you don't know the impact you're going to have on him and those kids. Let him be a father, because that's going to change everybody's life.
I just close it up with saying, it took both of y'all to make it. Took both of y'all to make it. You weren't mad when you made it. So work together to raise those kids.
And I'm going to say, for any father that may not have had that example, that's not an excuse no more.
Yeah.
And come to Dad's Making a Difference.
There we go.
And you will make a difference.
There you go.
You've been listening to Dad's Making a Difference, powered by First Things First. Join us for our next episode.